Pirates solved a problem that stumps most people today. It's how to keep food fresh for months without any modern technology. They developed techniques that worked so well, some are still used today. But most of these methods have been completely forgotten. What did they know that we don't? Ship life created a perfect storm of food destruction. Warm, humid air mixed with poor ventilation and constant movement. It was like trying to preserve food inside a steamy rocking chair. The interior of most ships stayed uncomfortably warm and damp. Heat from the sun beating down on wooden decks, combined with moisture from the ocean, created conditions that made food spoil at lightning speed. Rats posed a constant threat to food supplies. These clever rodents could chew through wood, cloth, and even some metals to reach stored food. A single rat family could destroy weeks' worth of supplies in just a few days. Pirates probably respected rats more than most of their fellow crew members, since rats were better at finding food. Let's not forget about the other uninvited guests. Cockroaches, weevils, and other insects joined the party too. They'd find tiny cracks in storage containers and multiply faster than rabbits. Fighting back required creative solutions. Food got hung from ceiling beams using ropes and pulleys. This kept supplies away from rats and reduced moisture damage from the floor. Sealed barrels became fortresses against pests. Then there's the feline solution. Cats became valuable crew members for pest control. Ship's cats earned their keep by hunting rats and mice. These were probably the only crew members who got fat during long voyages. Barrel construction was an art form in itself. Pirates lined containers with pitch or tar to make them waterproof and airtight. These thick black substances sealed gaps in the wood and created barriers against both moisture and pests. Some clever pirates used natural deterrents for dry goods storage. They'd pack food in ash, sawdust, or sand to discourage insects. Eating sandy beans wasn't pleasant, but sand beats bugs as a dinner seasoning. However, moisture remained the biggest enemy. It caused mold in dry goods, rust in metal containers, and rot in wooden barrels. Pirates developed rotation systems for their supplies, moving older items to the front and checking everything regularly. Regular inspections became part of ship routine. Finding a barrel full of green slime was like striking fool's gold instead of the real thing. All these storage challenges made one thing absolutely clear. Certain supplies were far more critical than others. Fresh water should have been simple to store, right? Wrong. Water turned into a pirate's worst enemy faster than you could say mutiny. Fresh water went bad within days at sea. The warm, humid conditions inside ship hulls created perfect breeding grounds for algae, bacteria, and every gross thing you can imagine. Pirates opening a water barrel after a week faced something closer to swamp soup than drinking water. This is where alcohol became a literal lifesaver. Pirates weren't drinking rum all day because they were party animals. Well, not entirely. Alcohol stayed good much longer than water and actually killed harmful bacteria. Beer, wine, and rum became the safer choice for staying hydrated. But drinking straight rum for months would turn even the toughest pirate into a useless mess. So they got creative and invented grog. This mixture combined rum with water, lime juice, and sometimes sugar. The alcohol killed bacteria in the water, while the lime juice provided vitamin C to prevent scurvy. Two problems solved with one drink that still packed a punch. Some ships carried over 100 barrels of alcohol for long voyages. That sounds like a lot until you realize a crew of 50 men needed to drink something every single day for months. The math adds up quickly. Then there's vinegar, which played a crucial role in liquid storage. Pirates used it for cooking, but more importantly, they used it to clean food storage containers. Vinegar's acidity killed germs and helped prevent contamination. The barrels themselves needed constant maintenance. Wood expands and contracts with temperature changes, creating gaps where liquid could leak out or contamination could seep in. Pirates had to regularly check seals, rotate barrels to prevent wood rot, and replace damaged containers when possible. The constant challenge was rationing. Too much alcohol consumption and the crew became ineffective. Too little and they risked disease from contaminated water. Ship captains had to carefully manage daily rations to keep everyone healthy and functional. But liquids weren't the only challenge pirates faced with food storage. Hardtack was the ultimate survival food, though calling it food might be generous. These rock-hard biscuits made from nothing but flour and water could outlast empires. They were so durable that pirates probably considered using them as cannonballs. The secret to hardtack's longevity was simplicity and extreme baking. Bakers would mix flour with just enough water to form a dough, then bake it until every molecule of moisture evaporated. The result looked like thick, pale crackers that could survive nuclear war. Making hardtack required serious heat and time. Bakers would keep these biscuits in ovens for hours, sometimes baking them multiple times to ensure complete dryness. Trying to bite hardtack without soaking it first was like chewing on ship planks, but hardtack came with unwanted protein additions. Weevils loved these biscuits almost as much as pirates did. These tiny insects would lay eggs in the flour, and months later, crews would find their food crawling with bugs. Most pirates just ate them anyway. Extra protein, they figured. Meanwhile, beans, lentils, and dried peas provided essential nutrition that hardtack couldn't offer. These legumes packed protein, fiber, and vitamins into small, lightweight packages. Pirates stored them in canvas sacks or cloth bags, keeping them off the ship's floor where moisture could ruin entire supplies. Then there's flour and grains, which provided versatility when other foods ran low. Ships carried wheat flour, oats, and barley in sealed kegs or thick bags. The challenge was keeping them dry enough to avoid becoming paste that could caulk the ship's hull. Storage methods for dry goods were absolutely crucial. Everything had to stay off the floor where condensation from the ship's hull could create dampness. Pirates built wooden platforms or hung sacks from ceiling beams. Mold was the silent killer of dry food supplies. Once it started growing, it spread quickly through entire storage areas. Finding green fuzz on your dinner meant dinner was now serving you. These dry staples formed the foundation of pirate nutrition, but they needed something with more staying power to truly survive long voyages. Salted meat was the backbone of every pirate's survival strategy at sea. Without it, crews would starve within weeks. But this wasn't just about throwing some salt on a piece of beef and calling it a day. The process started on land, usually at busy ports where pirates could buy or steal fresh meat. They'd get their hands on beef and pork, then begin the careful work of preservation. First, the meat got cut into manageable chunks. Think butcher shop precision, but with cutlasses instead of proper knives. Salt was the magic ingredient here. Coarse salt, specifically. The kind that looked like tiny rocks rather than the fine powder we sprinkle on fries today. This salt worked like a vampire hunter, sucking every drop of moisture from the meat. Bacteria need water to survive and multiply. No water meant no bacteria. Pirates layered this salt-covered meat in wooden barrels. Layer of meat, layer of salt, layer of meat, layer of salt. The salt didn't just sit on top either. It penetrated deep into the muscle fibers, creating a hostile environment that even the toughest microbes couldn't survive. Some clever pirates took an extra step before the salting process. They'd partially cook or smoke the meat first. This pre-cooking killed off surface bacteria and gave the salt an even better chance to work its magic. When properly done, this salted meat could last several months at sea. The trade-off was meat so tough it could double as ship repairs. After weeks in salt, the meat became so hard that pirates had to boil it for hours just to make it chewable. Here's where things get both interesting and gross. When meat started showing signs of mold or rot, pirates didn't just throw it overboard. They'd scrape off the bad parts, reboil what remained, and eat it anyway. Better to risk a stomachache than guaranteed starvation. The timing of this preservation was everything. Pirates couldn't just decide to salt meat in the middle of the ocean. This work happened during port stops or right before major voyages. Of course, salting wasn't the only way pirates extended the life of their food. Drying food at sea turned pirates into masters of improvisation. When you're floating in the middle of nowhere with unlimited sun and wind, you learn to use what nature provides. Fish caught fresh from the ocean became long-term protein through simple drying techniques. Pirates would clean their catch immediately, then lay the pieces out on deck using whatever materials they had available. The same sails that caught wind also caught fish for dinner. Cod and herring dried particularly well because of their fat content and texture. Once completely dried, they could last for months without spoiling. The finished product looked like leather and tasted almost as tough, but it provided essential protein when nothing else was available. Sunlight and sea air created ideal drying conditions. The constant breeze helped moisture evaporate quickly, while the sun's heat accelerated the process. Pirates learned to position their drying racks to catch maximum airflow and sunlight throughout the day. During island stops, pirates built more elaborate drying systems. They'd construct wooden frames using driftwood and rope, creating larger areas for processing bigger quantities of food. But here's where it gets interesting. Tropical fruits became dried snacks when pirates could find them. Pirates accidentally invented nature's candy centuries before anyone thought to package it. These dried fruits provided vitamin C that helped prevent scurvy, along with natural sugars that boosted energy levels. Smoking added another preservation option when materials allowed. Pirates would use onboard cooking stoves or build fire pits during land stops. The smoke not only helped preserve meat and fish, but also added flavor that made monotonous ship food more appealing. Different types of wood created different flavors and preservation effects. When available, pirates preferred hardwoods that burned slowly and produced thick smoke. They probably knew more about slow cooking than most fancy restaurant chefs today. Speed was essential during the drying process. Fish and meat had to be processed immediately after catching or killing to prevent initial spoilage. Pirates couldn't afford to be lazy when dinner depended on beating the clock against spoilage. Of course, drying wasn't the only way to add flavor and preserve food. Pickled foods gave pirates something closer to fresh vegetables after months at sea. The process was simple but effective, using acid and salt to create environments where harmful bacteria couldn't survive. Vinegar was the star of pirate pickling operations. This acidic liquid could preserve almost anything edible while adding flavor that broke up the monotony of salted meat and hardtack. Pirates pickled cabbage, onions, cucumbers, fish, and even eggs when they could get them. The science behind pickling was straightforward. Acidic environments kill most harmful microorganisms while preserving food structure and nutrients. It was like creating edible armor against spoilage. Salt brine offered another preservation method using concentrated salt water instead of vinegar. This technique worked especially well for whole fish, chunks of meat, or vegetables that could handle high salt content. But preparation was crucial for successful pickling. Foods had to be fresh and clean before going into preservation solutions. Dirty or damaged vegetables would contaminate entire batches, ruining weeks' worth of food preparation. Barrels used for pickling required special attention. These containers had to be completely watertight to prevent solution leakage and contamination. Losing your pickle juice was like watching your food insurance drain away. However, pickled foods provided more than just nutrition. They offered flavors that reminded pirates of home and normal life. After weeks of eating bland, preserved meat and rock-hard biscuits, pickled vegetables tasted like luxury dining. The pickling process created foods with extended shelf lives without requiring fire or complex equipment. Pirates could pickle foods at sea using supplies they already carried. Let's not forget that pickling solutions could be reused multiple times if kept clean and properly maintained. Pirates would strain and refresh their vinegar or brine, adding new vegetables to existing solutions. This accidentally made pirates healthier than most landlubbers of their era. The variety of pickled foods helped prevent nutritional deficiencies common during long sea voyages. But even the best preserved foods eventually ran out, forcing pirates to find fresh supplies. Island stops offered pirates their best chance to refresh food supplies and break the monotony of preserved rations. These brief visits required careful planning, quick action, and constant vigilance against potential threats. Tropical islands provided natural grocery stores for pirates willing to explore and take risks. Coconuts, bananas, citrus fruits, and wild roots grew abundantly on many Caribbean and Pacific islands. Pirates probably appreciated these natural supermarkets more than any modern shopping experience. Coconuts were particularly valuable because they provided both food and drink. The meat inside offered fat and protein, while coconut water supplied clean liquid that didn't require purification. A single coconut palm could feed several crew members. Fishing in shallow coastal waters was often more productive than deep ocean fishing. Pirates used hooks, nets, and spears to catch fish in lagoons and reef areas where marine life was abundant. Turtle hunting provided large quantities of meat when successful. Sea turtles came ashore to lay eggs, making them vulnerable to capture. These slow-moving dinners couldn't outrun pirates even on their best day. Then there's seabird eggs, which offer concentrated nutrition in small packages. Pirates would raid nesting areas during breeding seasons, collecting eggs that could be eaten immediately or preserved for short periods. Some islands had abandoned gardens or small farms that pirates could raid for vegetables and grains. Previous inhabitants might have left behind crops that continued growing wild. These discoveries were like finding treasure. Freshwater collection was often more important than food gathering, though. Pirates would collect rainwater using sails, tarps, or any large surface that could channel water into barrels. However, foraging required knowledge of local plants and their safety. Eating the wrong fruit or root could poison entire crews. If the local animals were eating it and thriving, it was probably safe for human consumption too. Time pressure made island stops stressful despite their benefits. Pirates couldn't spend weeks foraging leisurely. Enemy ships, hostile locals, or changing weather conditions could force rapid departures. Storage of fresh foods presented new challenges entirely. Fresh fruits and vegetables spoiled quickly in ship conditions, so pirates had to consume them rapidly or find ways to preserve them immediately. The psychological benefits of fresh food were as important as the nutritional advantages. A fresh mango after months of hardtack must have tasted like the best meal ever prepared. These island stops provided temporary relief from the constant challenge of food preservation, highlighting just how much skill and planning went into keeping crews fed during months at sea. Surviving months at sea without refrigeration required more than luck. Pirates mastered techniques that kept crews alive when failure meant starvation in the middle of nowhere.